Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans are seeking to rig the midterms and the general election. Trump himself revealed that his legal team are drafting an executive order aimed at ending mail-in voting, a move he tied to comments from Vladimir Putin, who reportedly told him that US elections are compromised by postal ballots. Speaking at the White House alongside Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Trump said, "We're beginning with an executive order being prepared now by top lawyers to eliminate mail-in ballots because they're corrupt." Just be clear, more Democrats use mail-in voting than Republicans do. This is classic voter suppression, something that Republicans are famous for, but it's never been quite as explicit as this.
You can never have a real democracy with mail-in ballots, and we, as a Republican Party, are going to do everything possible that we get rid of mail-in ballots. We're going to start with an executive order that's being written right now by the best lawyers in the country to end mail-in ballots because they're corrupt. And you know that we're the only country in the world, I believe, I may be wrong, but just about the only country in the world that uses them.
The announcement came just days after Trump's meeting with Putin in Alaska. According to Trump's subsequent interview with Sean Hannity, the Russian leader told him the 2020 election was rigged because of widespread use of mail-in voting. And as we've now discovered, Donald Trump will take everything that Vladimir Putin says as gospel. And that's the crux here, isn't it? That Republicans try to stop people from voting and Democrats want everyone to vote. It doesn't get simpler than that. Earlier on Monday, Trump posted on Truth Social that he intended to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots. He also attacked voting machines, describing them as inaccurate, costly, and highly controversial, and claimed they were vastly more expensive than traditional paper ballots with watermarks. He went further, falsely claiming that the US is the only country in the world still using mail-in voting. Ridiculous. Around 40 countries use mail-in voting. Most European countries and over 100 countries permit overseas citizens to vote by mail. And remember, as Republican states reduce the number of polling places to suppress the vote, voting by mail, you would have thought, would be more popular, so people don't have to drive miles just to cast their single vote, the most basic and fundamental form of a functioning democracy.
On Monday, the president said his team was drafting an executive order to ban the use of not just mail-in ballots, but also voting machines and tabulators, which allow Ohio boards of elections to get results out on election night.
Massive fraud all over the place.
Nonpartisan elections law expert Atiba Ellis says that Trump's plan won't work.
Trump does not have the power to do this. At best, it's in the hands of Congress to dictate how federal elections work. Therefore, he cannot simply by executive order change how American democracy has worked.
LaRose touts Ohio as the gold standard of elections. And in response to Trump's statement, a spokesperson told us, "We look forward to reviewing the details of what the president is proposing. Changes to Ohio's voting process require a vote of the General Assembly, so I'm sure we'll be talking with them as well."
States get to make the rules.
Miller has consistently fought against Ohio Republicans' efforts to make more restrictions to voting, including requiring a photo ID and limiting ballot drop-box access. She worries Trump's rhetoric will cause the state to look for even more ways to make it harder to vote.
Courts across the US rejected dozens of lawsuits after the 2020 election that alleged voter fraud, consistently finding no evidence of widespread irregularities. Currently, 28 states allow any voter to request a mail ballot without an excuse, while 8 states and Washington, D.C. mail ballots automatically to all registered voters. Roughly 1 in 5 Americans lives in those jurisdictions. Despite his opposition, Trump himself has used the system. In 2020, both he and Melania Trump cast their ballots by mail in Florida's primary election, confirmed by Palm Beach County officials. Trump also argued that states act merely as agents of the federal government and must obey presidential election orders, a claim that is directly contradicted by the U.S. Constitution, which grants states authority to run their own elections. Did you know that your personal data is actively being sold online by data brokers right now? Anyone with a credit card, even scammers, can buy your home address, phone number, and even the names of your family members. It's not just creepy, it's dangerous. If you've ever spoken out politically or have a public-facing job, your data can make you a target for harassment or worse. Identity theft, phishing scams, even stalking, it all starts with your information being too easy to find. That's why I use Delete Me. They're the best in the business at getting your personal info removed from data broker websites and keeping it off. Delete Me is the sponsor of today's video, and I'm proud to partner with them. On my dashboard right now, I can see they've removed my info from 47 data broker sites, including over 300 pieces of personal data, stuff I didn't even know was out there. Your personal safety and privacy are worth protecting. Head to joindeleteme.com/5minutenews and use promo code 5minutenews for 20% off. You can even protect your entire family with a family plan, because when they buy your data, they can see your relatives too. That's joindeleteme.com/5minutenews, promo code 5minutenews. Mail-in voting has grown dramatically in recent decades, from fewer than 10% of voters in 1996 to nearly 50% during the pandemic election of 2020. By 2022, about 1 in 3 Americans were still voting by mail, according to the MIT Election Data and Science Lab. Advocates say the method improves accessibility for people with disabilities, parents of young children, and workers with long shifts, while also allowing voters to review their choices carefully at home without the pressure of being in a booth at the polling place and potentially intimidated by Trump's MAGA Republicans waiting outside. And remember the conspiracy theory that Trump and MAGA Republicans claimed about the voting machines in 2020, arguing that they were somehow compromised and that the election was rigged. And yesterday, it was Newsmax that agreed to pay Dominion $67 million to settle their defamation lawsuit filed by Dominion over false claims that it rigged the 2020 election against Donald Trump. Newsmax also paid $40 million last year to settle a defamation lawsuit from another voting machine company, Smartmatic. You see, the voting machines work. They are the quickest way to get to a result, which is, of course, what everybody wants to hear on the night of an election. Donald Trump is now trying to do away with voting machines, going entirely to hand counts. He wants to go to paper ballots only, and he wants to ban mail-in voting. These systems are used successfully around the world with no issue. But Donald Trump knows that the Republicans are likely to lose the Senate, the House, and potentially both in the midterms, because Americans are done with dictatorship. Americans are done with the military on the streets, arresting not just immigrants, but American citizens also. They are done with Donald Trump lying about the economy, claiming that inflation is down and jobs are up when the opposite is true. Americans are done with Donald Trump lying about wars that he's stopped around the world and the vast amounts of money coming into the US thanks to his insane tariffs, which are paid for by American consumers. America has lost its democracy as long as Donald Trump stays in power. And now, his plan to end mail-in voting is proof positive that Trump himself is choosing to deny democracy to the people. He doesn't want you to vote. He wants to stay in the White House, and I can almost guarantee that he will be running for a third term in 2028 and will create some false premise that he is entitled to, even if it means rewriting the Constitution or ignoring it completely. I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.